Hello everyone, welcome to this panel on clicks versus credibility with affiliate marketing. I'm joined by some pretty important voices from across various aspects of the industry. We're going to be discussing the ever-changing landscape of affiliate marketing. For those that don't know me, I'm Paul Lamkin. I've been involved in consumer tech editorial for nearly 20 years now, working across various different titles at various different publications. I'm probably more recently known as the founder of Wearable, subsequently The Ambient, two very genre-specific tech websites that were acquired by Candor Media, who is the house behind Trusted Reviews, back in 2023. I am joined by Jessica Tompkins. She's a publisher development director at Skimlinks, who work with 23 of the 25 major publishers globally with affiliate marketing. Steve B, who is the head of direct retail at SMEG, a hugely prestigious brand who, like other heritage brands, are heavily involved in the online affiliate marketing game now. And Tabby Grove, who is an account director here at our hosts, Little Red, who'll be able to give us a PR perspective on how affiliate marketing is affecting the brands she works with and the editors she is in contact with. So I've actually been in the affiliate game for quite a bit longer than a lot of other people in editorial. Our original backer for Wearable back in 2013 came from an affiliate background, albeit like a dedicated affiliate background, i.e. like forum, tips-driven shopping sites. So it was a bit of an experiment whether we could take that what he knew about affiliate and driving traffic and earning money to an editorial site. So we were a bit of a guinea pig, and it actually really worked out. So we didn't put ads on the sites for the first couple of the years that we were running them. We grew organically, traffic-wise, and the only revenue we were making was affiliate revenue, and this was a couple of years before sort of the other sites kind of clued on. The trouble is, other sites did clue on in that time, and there was a bit of a Wild West sort of start to the affiliate game. There was a lot of sites sort of popped up that were just cashing in on people clicking through and buying stuff, and they didn't really care about the reader, and they didn't care about getting the reader the result that they wanted. And luckily, Google kind of clued on to that sort of nonsense quite early on. Those sites kind of got closed down. And in the last few years, a much more user-focused affiliate model has emerged, with brands like Skimlinks making mass affiliate marketing much, much more simpler for publishers, and premium brands like SMEG actually offering direct affiliate opportunities through networks like AWIN. So with all that in mind, let's just jump straight in. Jess, I'm going to start with you because you're the expert authority on the space, at least from a sort of blanket coverage point of view. I wondered if you could give us a quick overview on how the market has changed in the past few years, what that means for consumers, publishers, brands, editors, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So I think overall the landscape has changed a lot. There are far more players in the space. So for a very long time you had the kind of cashback, coupon, editorial were kind of the only players you had in the space. Whereas now in terms of publishers, alongside those, and our focus is really on editorial at Skimlinks, we're now also starting to focus on kind of like rewards programs. Buy now, pay later has really come into the space, and alongside kind of gift finders. Like you have things like Moonsift, kind of AI users as well. So there's far more touch points as well for you to kind of see consumers alongside the affiliate journey. But then also if we look specifically at kind of editorial affiliate publishers, you see just far more investment has come in over the last, I would say, kind of 5 years. So we work with the likes of kind of Hearst, Condé Nast, Telegraph. All of them have really built out affiliate teams, so it's a real focus for their business. It's a really key revenue driver for them. And it also, I would say, there's a direct correlation now between the publishers who kind of test their products the most, have the most editorial integrity behind them, and the ones who are driving the most revenue for themselves, but also making the most conversions for brands. And that's been a huge investment in terms of having actual like commerce writers at editorial publishers to drive those conversions. There's a real focus on that recently.
Yeah, so you're talking about publishers now have dedicated affiliate teams. I can talk from the early days. It used to just kind of be, we wrote about something, we wanted people to click through and perhaps buy that product. Oh, is there an affiliate deal in place? How different is it now, and how does that affect like day to day for editorial teams?
Yeah, I think exactly like you say. I think there was a time when it was kind of because of the way Skimlinks works, it's like so easy. You don't have to really think about it as a writer. So there was a real sense of have the affiliate links in there, and then it might be like cocktail money that you're going to get from this, and it wasn't really very intentional. Whereas now we have built out commerce writing teams alongside kind of affiliate teams in commercial. So there's that real drive to really work for brands to push their products, but also to be that kind of service journalism as well. So it's also all about making sure that you're pushing products that readers are going to buy and use and enjoy using, so they're going to come back to you, and these publishers will be a real source for shopping, rather than just like, oh, we wrote about an iPhone, let's stick a link in there.
Yep. Obviously, that does lead to sort of questions around what's being included and why that's being included. And obviously, from a brand perspective, Steve, I know that you just see as affiliate as an extension, an evolution of advertising, right? People have always paid to be featured.
Absolutely. I think to a certain extent, brands have always wanted to put themselves in front of the right audience. The key difference is affiliate is an evolution of that process. So for me, what affiliate does is it's really performance-based. So it's smarter, it's more measurable, it's more efficient from an ROI perspective. We only end up putting content in front of people who genuinely want to read that content, and ultimately that ends up benefiting us from a credibility point of view as well as a sales point of view.
Okay, so you guys are not new to affiliate, but you've sort of ramped it up in the last couple of years. What was like a big hurdle, an internal discussion point when it comes to deciding to engage with affiliate? It's kind of a new model for a prestigious brand like SMEC.
I think the most difficult thing was getting the point across that affiliate has changed so much over the years. So going back a few years, well, maybe more than a few years, don't want to show off my age, affiliate was around putting a discount code on a website that refers traffic to your website, and that then creates a sale. I think where we moved from that now is we are creating genuine content that people are genuinely interested in, and that's what's driving the engagement. And like I said, that's what also drives the benefit for us as a business at the end of the day. And with it being so specifically measurable, it becomes super efficient because you are only paying for what works, right? So that content then is based on honest, genuine sort of content, I suppose.
Yeah, and I would echo that as well around it not being the kind of throw on a discount now. There's, I would say, most of the performance that we see on our side is evergreen content. So it's content that is written and then just lives for years and years. So some of our top performing pages across the network in terms of articles have been driving revenue for brands for sort of 3 to 5 years. So it's really quality content that is updated. So if there's anything, if you have a new product out that you want to be included in, say like the best fridges article on Good Housekeeping, for example, it's always about working with kind of PRs to keep those writers up to date, because it's very long-term strategy now.
I think the other thing to get across is that affiliate is very much a dual approach to speaking to your end consumer. So a simple example of this is we, a while ago, launched a 10-in-1 multifunction oven. We spoke to a big publisher, wanted to get an article live on that to create brand awareness and awareness of the product itself. The byproduct of that was, yes, we created that awareness, we got lots of traffic to that landing page, but we ended up having the best trading day we'd had that entire year. Not necessarily on that product, but just across the board. And that's the power of affiliate. It goes so much beyond just this element of creating content, putting it in front of someone, or providing a discount. That product at the time, I think, had very little, if any, discount on it whatsoever.
So you talked about it there. So how do you measure the sort of credibility aspect of an affiliate partnership, like compared to like traditional marketing and advertising channels? Are there like specific KPIs you measure beyond just clicks? You know, like that was a perfect example you just talked about.
Absolutely. I think there are two sides to it. So the one side is obviously looking at the commercial element. So you advertise a product, how much of that product do you sell? But I think it goes beyond that. So if we want to think about a really complex product, a customer's not going to buy that on their first engagement or their first land on that landing page. So what we look at is we look at things like your average session duration, your bounce rate, how long are people spending on that website, what other products do people look at? And that then plays back into our sort of wider marketing strategy of how do we speak to people beyond just this initial product? What are they interested other than the things that we know and support? So Smeg, as an example, we tend to be known for kettles and toasters and fridges predominantly, but we have such a broad range of products that affiliate is really, it's the perfect opportunity to give consumers that view of our total sort of brand portfolio as opposed to just the things they may be aware of.
And I'm guessing, Jess, you can help brands like Smeg with measurables. You can give them access to sort of data points and where people are clicking through to, what they're landing on, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we share tons of data with brands as well as publishers. So we have our advertiser team who work directly with advertisers, and they can share things like top domains, top articles that are performing, but also on our side, and in collaboration with the networks like AIM and CJ, Linkshare, we can also show which products are actually being bought. And not only do we share that with the brands that we work very closely with, but also we share that with the publishers. So they might see that if they have a Smeg product featured in an article about kettles, but someone's then gone on and bought an espresso machine, we can kind of share that with the publisher so they know that they can go and create that extra content that not only works for them because they have more categories to feature, but also kind of promotes the brand further if it's a brand that's working well already.
Tabby just touched on it in terms of how brands now approach, PRs now approach editors about their brands and what they look after. How has it changed the way that you kind of work day to day, and the way that you build sort of those long-term media contacts with sort of affiliate in mind?
I'd say there's quite an assumption sometimes that if you've got an affiliate scheme, you're instantly going to get coverage, which isn't the case. So PR is always going to be the storyteller in between. So how's a journalist going to know about you? Well, you need that PR in between. So Jess and I were talking about this earlier, that we both get it from both sides. So you can assume that you're going to get coverage if you've got an affiliate platform, but how are you getting those messages across? How's your brand being positioned in the right way? So still speaking to journalists exactly how we would have done before, and getting brands' key messages across, working with them on their strategy, what do they want to communicate, but then using the affiliate partnership to get that push through. So it's more, we don't massively change what we do, it's more of a blocker if it's not there. So earlier I was speaking to a journalist who loved one of the brands she's seen, and so I really want to write a piece about this. Are they on Skimlinks or any kind of other platform? And then she said, I can only do it if they are. So as much as we can tell a brand story, it's kind of the final piece of the puzzle that puts it through.
Yeah, and I mean, I have that on my side as well all the time. Publishers will come to me and say, I've been speaking to someone from PR about this, and I really, really want to feature it, but how can we get it on Skimlinks? Which is easy to do, by the way. But yeah, I think it's that kind of like PR starts the interest and like sparks the opportunity, and then they just need that final piece to close and to be able to feature.
So a quick follow-up to that then, Tabby. Have you ever come across editorial teams that refuse to, cover brands because there's no affiliate in place? Without naming names.
Not a full-on no. Yeah. Most will say we can squeeze it in, but say we're doing 10 products, we can only do one that's not. So you've probably had this, that publishing houses now, and probably a lot of people here, have found that their editors are giving them targets of where there used to be print advertising, that's now switched, and the targets are now for how many sales they're making. So it makes sense that they need to prioritise those who have affiliate partnerships. So they can, and that's all in our hard work to keep pushing on. But yeah, it's the example I get most is if we're doing 10 products, one maximum.
That leads us on to a point that I wanted to talk about, and I've obviously got an editorial perspective on this, but I'd like to hear the others first before I answer it. So how comfortable are we that editorial teams are choosing to highlight products based on their merits rather than an ulterior motive, such as how much affiliate kickback they're going to get from a brand? And I have a view on this. So
I'm sure you do. From the editorial perspective, very confident. So I'm speaking to publishers day in, day out, and there are so many examples of brands who are paying like a 30% CPA, and the writers just won't feature them because they don't believe in this product. I think where the CPA comes into play is more around kind of positioning in the article, which you can't necessarily buy, but that might help you kind of shift up the article a little bit. Or if a product is available at multiple retailers, you might get kind of more from having better commercials on that. But I think what it comes down to is that these publishers they care so much about their readers. So they never want to push anything to their readers that's they don't believe in, and that they think they'd rather have a reader buy a product that they're going to love and keep coming back to them than buy one product which delivers them a ton of revenue one-off, and then the readers think, well, I'm not going to buy on a recommendation from this journalist again. So it's very important to them, kind of editorial integrity behind that.
Yeah, I would agree that they have thousands of brands they can choose from. They want their readers to trust them and return to them. They're only going to put something in if they genuinely like it, regardless of whether they've tried the product. It's only going to go in if they genuinely believe in it.
And just to add on to that, if you think about these articles living in the ether and how AI has impacted things, the thing that's going to give you cut through is an article that's honest and genuine and that resonates with your end user. So where we get to this point where there's commercial pressure that's sort of dictating the editorial elements of the content, it's really down to the team to ensure that what we are putting in front of end users is genuinely what matters to them. The short-term wins in affiliate are kind of really silly if you think of the long-term benefits of creating an article that's going to send traffic to your website for however long it lives on that website.
Yeah, just to chime in from an editorial perspective, I've worked at my own company where we didn't really favour anything affiliate-wise. We kind of covered the brands that had to be covered. I've also worked at publishers where there is a pressure to include brands because they pay well, but also pressure to tell other brands, if you want more inclusion, then you need to, famously there are a few brands that don't do affiliate, but sometimes they're the major players in their field. So my argument from an editorial point of view, whenever I had pressure from up high, was if we don't include those brands, we lose our credibility on all the other things. So if you've got 10 products, for example, in a buyer's guide, 2 of them aren't paying affiliate, but they're 2 of the biggest names in the game. If you take them out, you're going to earn less money from the 8 that do, because people and Google aren't stupid. They're going to see that brands are not being included for certain reasons. So yeah, I think it's a ongoing kind of line that editorial teams have to toe. And I think it's interesting, Jess, that you mentioned specific affiliate teams that work within the business, because I think a lot of the time now editors don't really have to think about it too much, because there's another team that add that layer once the editorial content goes live.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think there are a few publishers I work with where the writers barely touch the affiliate side of things. So they might see like a list of CPAs and they might have access to our platform and be able to see what they are. But at the end of the day, the team that are actually going out and speaking to the brands and trying to get kind of increases commission or tenancy fees, whatever that might be, they're separate from the writers. And you're so right about, if you're writing an article and you don't feature the key brands for that product, despite whether they have an affiliate program or not, you're going to lose credibility immediately. And then also, to your point, the kind of long-form articles that are required now, and all of the most successful publishers that I work with, they not only create very, very long-form articles about their products, to the point where often they have to have a section at the top so you can click through quickly. But they're spending sometimes months testing these products. So it would be so disingenuous of them to write something that wasn't. It would kind of be a waste of all of that time to cover a brand positively that isn't, just because they're not paying affiliate.
Just a question on that, sort of how much you focus on affiliate with that long, from a brand perspective, Steve. I'd just be interested to know, where does that money come from? Is it from the original marketing pot that you would have had? You say, this year we expect X amount of clicks, so that's going to cost us X amount in affiliate kickback. Is it a completely new set of numbers that you're working from now?
I think for me it's a new set of numbers. If you think of traditional digital marketing, if you can call it that, and you think of display and PPC, that is sitting separately to what affiliate is. And if you think of affiliate as an evolution of traditional marketing, so your general media buys, that pot of money has to sit differently. The way you measure the ROAS on that is completely different. And I think where you look at attribution models, so PPC working off a last click attribution model, you kind of attribute a sale to that consumer interacting with your paid ad. Affiliate's completely different. Affiliate for me is planting a seed. It's not necessarily about that end sale. It's planting a seed with the consumer, telling them a genuine and honest story, explaining who you are as a brand beyond what you say on the homepage of your website, and then letting them make a choice as to whether or not they want to buy into that ideology or not.
Yeah, we were talking beforehand about how affiliate now on the page, on the sort of modern web page, is one of the most honest marketing employers now, because there's just the state of websites at the moment with the bouncing around and the ads that load and there's this and that. The one thing you can rely on if you're at a trusted publication is quality content, editorial that's led by expertise and experience, and so that affiliate click through, like you say, that is one of the most trusted things on the page now.
Absolutely, and I think going back to the points I made earlier around it being genuine, a simple comparator or example of this is if you take a look at LinkedIn and how prolific AI-generated content is on LinkedIn and the sort of the appearance of this ChatGPT mega dash everywhere, and you look at what type of publications or posts on LinkedIn actually work, it's the posts that have a lived experience, right? And I think that's the same thing in terms of affiliate content. If it is a genuine, real review of a product, like I said, from a long-term longevity point of view, that's always going to resonate better with consumers. It's not about the short term, it's about thinking ahead. And like I said, with the planting a seed element, we don't necessarily want you to buy the first time you see the product. We want you to go away, we want you to think about it and come back when you're 100% ready and know that that product is genuinely for you.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned AI, because we've got to somehow get AI into the conversation, because it's 2025. So how exactly do we see AI sort of affecting the affiliate-driven editorial approach that publishers seem to have adopted now? With like large language learning models like ChatGPT and Gemini, people are increasingly going to them to find products they're after, and those models are based on authoritative mentions in sort of consumer tech publications. So how do brands, PR agencies sort of shift their approach as we move away from a kind of traditional SEO-led approach to this more, AI-driven discovery process?
I think it's a question of how these things work. So if you think about AI, what AI does incredibly well is summarize content. What it doesn't do particularly well is link outwardly. So from an editorial point of view, the most important thing is to create this content that's going to sit somewhere, that's going to be referenced and looked at by other people. And then when you have these, obviously, it's prolific Google zero-click searches, when there's a relevant search query, naturally that information is going to be pulled in because it's a website that's visited. It's a website where you can see that the content's resonating with the end user, and then ultimately that then is brought to the front with AI. I don't think it's so much a revolution as it is an evolution of the way that search works.
Yeah, I know, Tabby, we've spoke about this before, how PRs are almost having to go back to a more traditional approach whereby that quality content is more important than ever. They're getting mentions for their brands on trusted publications rather than publications that are perhaps doctoring the game to win at SEO.
Yeah, I'd say as well, the clue's kind of in the name, like public relations, it's all built on relationships. So while you'll be stupid to not use AI for its kind of admin side of things, it will never change how outreach happens to journalists. But how journalists have to kind of approach PRs has slightly changed, and you need to have those relationships there. So, for example, there's AI-generated expert comments. So journalists now don't even know if expert comment is coming from a real person, which is mental, and they're having to research, is this expert actually a real person? So having that relationship in place really kind of secures a brand in front of a journalist. They can trust you, and that's how you're going to get the best coverage results.
Yeah, there's also the danger as well that these large language models are pulling information that's incorrect, right? If someone's done a review or a Versus article and they've mentioned something about one of your brand's products that isn't quite correct, we're almost going back to that old-fashioned PR approach of phoning publications and saying, can you correct this? Is that something that's happening now?
Luckily, something we've not seen, but definitely, yeah, I'm speaking to a lot of journalists. They have found AI is starting to cause issues that they hadn't even considered before, with things like that of fact-checking coming from the wrong places.
So, Jess, obviously, AI is touching on every single market and, brand, every sort of company out there. How is AI, I can imagine AI and Skimlinks would work quite well together. How are you guys adopting the technology to make it a better process for editorial teams and brands?
So the main way we're adopting it is in the data that we're able to share with publishers. Because we work with, like I said, 23 out of 25 publishers, that gives each one quite a nice overview of kind of benchmarking and what trends are happening in the market, which we've been sharing for years and years, like the whole time. It's such a huge part of what we do. But we've been using AI far more now to manage to get kind of ahead of trends so that we can see what's going to be the next thing to perform rather than just being able to share what's performing generally across the board right now. So whether that's like something from fashion or a merchant that hasn't really been touched on, but we've started to see perform in another region.
And do you, how much of the sort of off-the-shelf AI tech do you guys use in terms of creating the links and stuff like that, or is there still manual teams doing that in-house?
That's all been automated. That's really our product. So we have kind of a line of code that lives on the site and automatically affiliates every single link that a writer puts in. So that's always been totally automated. Yeah. I'm sure there'll be more automations that can come from kind of the platform where merchants advertisers are more discoverable. But yeah, that's all been automated the whole time, which again means the writers can kind of stay true to just writing rather than having to look up how to build a link.
Okay. So aside from AI, which is obviously an emerging trend across everything, what from your sort of expert bird's eye view, Jess, what are the sort of emerging markets, product categories that are driving, or having significant growth in affiliate? Obviously, most people in this room, because they're here, are obviously from a consumer tech or lifestyle background, but affiliates working across everything now, right?
Yeah, it's working across everything. Those kinds of core product-led categories are still driving the vast majority, so home tech, fashion, all of those kinds of things. We are seeing more coming through in travel. I think a lot of publishers have seen massive partnerships with maybe some specific travel partners for a very, very long time, but there are some more players coming into the game. And then also a lot more services, so kind of VPNs have been doing quite well for a long time.
I was hoping for you to give me the next big thing, because if I'd have started a VPN site or a mattress site 5 years ago, I'd be a millionaire. So what is the up and, like you say, travel? Is that package holidays? Is that flights? What's the growing sort of markets there?
It's generally just kind of where to stay that's performing. But then on the other side of that, we're also seeing a lot more kind of events doing well. So whether that's kind of like days out, or we saw, when Taylor Swift was here, that was a huge kickoff for us. So yeah, sometimes it can be hard to kind of stay ahead of what's going to be the next big thing in that respect. But yeah, I'd say events is really something that's growing. There are more and more kind of ticket providers and things like that.
It's interesting you mentioned sort of days out and places to stay. So these are kind of editorial pages where you wouldn't expect that you're clicking through and earning someone money. So this brings us on to the point which we spoke about before, Steve. Should affiliate sort of links and revenue be disclosed as clearly as sort of ad sponsorship? Is there a line that people might cross?
I think absolutely it needs to be disclosed. If we come back to this principle of things being honest and bearing in mind that affiliate is a model that's outcomes based, right? It's all based on the success of that model working, because people are interacting with the content and going through to a website. I think disclosing the revenue off the back of it serves two purposes. One, it shows that your editorial teams are doing the absolute right thing in terms of creating content that resonates with the end user. And at the same time, from a publisher point of view, it confirms that that placement of the article is correct. It's correct for your end user. It maybe confirms internal truisms to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think most editorial places I've worked in the last few years, there's either something on the page that says if you click through, we might earn some revenue. I think that's kind of standard practice now across the industry, and I think if people aren't doing it, perhaps they can be penalised. Jess, you probably know more.
Yeah, they certainly can. I think for a long time it was a bit of a grey area, because obviously you're only being paid if someone makes a sale. It's not as if a brand has paid up front for the content, although that's happening more often now with kind of tenancy deals. But yeah, I would say all the publishers that I work with, it's really top of mind when they either started doing affiliates or in the last couple of years. I don't know anyone who isn't disclosing in a really prominent position, to the point where I'd say some publishers could even kind of lose out if they're not affiliating certain parts of their website, because they are holding on so closely to making sure they have that disclosure where it needs to be.
Yeah, you're right to say that sites can miss out. Google specifically says, you should present a number of options to the readers, which is why we're seeing more and more of those sort of affiliate widget native tools that will drive people to different retailers to get perhaps the best price and stuff like that. So as affiliate continues to shape the sort of media landscape, AI keeps changing the way that people are discovering products and stuff they want to buy. What's the one piece of advice that you would give to like brands, PRs, publishers, editors to try and stay relevant, credible, commercially smart over the sort of next 12 to 24 months? And that's for all of you, that question.
I think, as we've been talking about a lot for publishers, it's definitely making sure that your content reads in a way that it's someone actually recommending these products to you, and it's somebody who, I mean, all the publishers I work with, they get an expert. So you're not going to have someone random writing about tech, for example. You're going to get an expert in. So it should be very, very clear, and there should be a real kind of human voice behind that content. I mean, otherwise you're just not going to get featured in Google. But yeah, I say that's the number one thing, is to stay authentic, and a way that you can kind of get behind this as brands is going to be to communicate as much as you can about the new product launches that are coming, and also when those new pushes are coming, make sure that if you have an affiliate team in your business, that they're also aware of those conversations you're having, so that we can kind of line up any kind of affiliate coverage that publishers can provide on the back of that, because a lot of the time they're really happy to kind of bolster that with affiliate, but they just need the information, and then any of those if there are any relevant products, get them in front of the writers as well, because like we've said, they're not writing about things that they haven't actually kind of held in their hands.
Completely agree. I think it's all around building genuine authority, creating content that resonates, and ultimately what we want to do, if you think of in a world of user-generated content, like I said before, AI can do a lot, but what AI can't do is give you a lived experience, and that lived experience needs to resonate within the body of that affiliate content when you're talking about various different types of products.
From PR's perspective, I would say advice for publishers is be as honest as you can with PRs. The more information you can give us about commission rates, how long you want that set up for, what's the easiest platform for a brand to be on, anything like that will help you get what you want easier, and also helps us to advise brands better. I would say for brands, get your PR involved as early as possible and make your investment work as well as possible, and PRs just get nosy on both sides.
Yeah, I think from an editorial point of view, affiliate is the more natural way that editorial content can be paid for as we move forward. Online advertising has become, a cesspit. You don't really get too much control over it. Even direct deals and stuff like that. It's very hard to sort of streamline that and make it, correlate with your brand. Whereas, Jess, you did mention sort of tenancy deals, with affiliate. That's becoming an increasingly more common thing. Can you kind of explain to everyone what that is?
Yeah, so I mean, it will really vary from publisher to publisher, but obviously the core affiliate's always going to be CPA, so cost per sale. But we are seeing more publishers, as they grow out their kind of commerce branch of their business, they want to be able to give opportunities to brands to get their products in articles that they are pushing a bit more than it just being totally organic. And of course that's all disclosed. But they'll often offer a cost to have, for example, like position 2 in an article, or to have a dedicated article. So there are lots of different touch points that they're doing, but that is always backed up with affiliate as well. So they're not necessarily going to guarantee sales or anything, but they will definitely push that content a lot more if it's got money behind it.
And how, obviously, Steve, you're a prestigious brand who perhaps don't have to do that because you're more likely to be organically included. So how do you feel competing with brands that perhaps have paid for those sort of tenancy agreements?
To be honest, I don't think we've had that challenge just yet. Affiliate for us is such a new part of the marketing mix. What we're trying to do is understand how to use it to its full potential. And for us, like I said, maybe the key differentiator for us is the fact that affiliate isn't necessarily just about making that sale. Like I said before, it's all about planting a seed. It's about approaching some of our wider challenges around sort of breadth of range. We want people to know that we are so much more than kettle, toaster and fridge. We offer so much more than kettle, toaster and fridge. And affiliate helps us to touch audiences perhaps that we wouldn't have traditionally been able to get in front through the likes of traditional organic or SERPs or PPC.
Yeah, I saw, especially on wearable, when there was some big launches with pretty big brands, instead of a old-fashioned sort of marketing advertising campaign, they were much more likely to partner with us to do a range of sort of content that we did in partnership with them, but with a bigger affiliate kickback because they were confident it was going to drive people to the website, not just by the particular, that product that was launching, but other products in the range. Is that something that you guys would be working on as well?
Yeah, potentially for new launches. I think for me, it's almost a case of optimal diversification. So you don't want to take all your money and put that into one particular advertising stream. It's understanding how do we use all of these things and what strengths do they have. So, for example, when we look at SEO, that is, forever in search. We want to make sure that from an SEO perspective, relevant pages are always being served for search queries. I think each of those advertising mediums serves a different purpose. I think something like affiliate is incredible for a newly launched product. I think PPC and organic is still always going to dominate from a search perspective and trying to capture purchase intent. So I think the key thinking ahead is how do we use all of these things in collaboration, and how do we use them to the best of their ability, and how do we maximize budget efficiency effectively?
Yeah, totally. I think we can kind of summarize the conversation in that affiliate has changed dramatically in the last sort of 5 or 10 years, and I think almost that old stigma of affiliate is kind of falling away. Perhaps we need a new word, because those sort of early days of where people were just trying to cash in and make a quick buck, that has left kind of a bit of a stigma around the industry, which, for us working in the industry, know that doesn't really exist on the sort of more respected publication level. But do you think there's still those misconceptions, Jess, from those early days, and how can we combat that going forward?
Yeah, I think absolutely what you say around needing a new term, I hear that quite a lot at every conference I go to. But yeah, I think a lot of the misconception is that you're right, it's just people cashing in. So I think there's a lot of work that can be done by publishers, whether that's editorial, buy now, pay later, gifting, to kind of push the new narrative, but also to just have those conversations with brands. And talk about the kind of the actual conversion that they're delivering to advertisers, because it's grown so much. And I think now you can, like I say, you can touch so many different points of the funnel via affiliate, like whether that's like top of or right at the bottom when you're about to make a sale. So I think conversion is kind of the name of the game for all publishers now, and I think that needs to be pushed more in the narrative.
So what is the name that people talk about at places like Skimlink?
I haven't heard anyone actually come up with a new name. It's just we need to stop saying affiliate.
So that sort of early stigma and those misconceptions, Steve, when a prestigious brand like Smeg says we're going to enter the market, we're going to start doing this affiliate stuff, was there pushback internally to say, affiliates are, it's a bit of a wild west, or has the sort of market evolved enough now that wasn't a problem?
I think the view is a little bit split. I wouldn't necessarily say that there was pushback. I think, like we've spoken about, affiliate and the stigma of affiliates, in my opinion, is not really there anymore. I think for a brand like ours, the last thing we want to be doing is going to market with a price point that undercuts any of our retailers. So what we try and do is, instead of doing that, we try and create honest, genuine content with the likes of Little Red Rooster and put that in front of the right people. And I think if you approach it correctly, it's not all about discounting. It's about positioning an article correctly for an end user that we know will land on that type of website and be referred then to the content on your own website.
Yeah, I'd like to think that was kind of my thinking when we launched Wearable. The guy that approached me with the money to back it, and he wanted to launch a wearable tech website based on discount codes, because that was his. Wearable tech was such an emerging market. I said, I don't think there'll be enough, but can't we just do that? Cover products. If the editorial is good enough, if the products are good enough, people are going to click through and they're going to buy these things anyway. So that's kind of how it's meant to work and how it does work now, right?
Yeah, and I think as well, just adding another misconception I think a lot of brands have around affiliate, especially big brands, is that people are going to click through and buy their product, whether they're paying or not. And I think we've covered a lot today that isn't the case, but I would say that's a really key misconception that I hear from brands, whether that's doing affiliate at all or increasing a CPA for a certain campaign, that it's, well, we're such a household name that we don't need to because you'll buy from us anyway.
Okay, I think that's all I had down. We was going to open it up to some questions as well, I think, was the plan.
Yeah, we touched on AI before and how basically AI is great at kind of summarizing information but not so great at linking out. In terms of that sort of people asking whichever search engine of choice and pulling information from websites, and then people not really going into the various websites, but then making their choice from that summary. What is the impact then on the affiliate marketing, and do you see that, I suppose, being a sort of a real problem as that becomes a more common approach to sort of searching for brands and products?
Yeah, it's definitely very front of mind. I mean, a publisher might have a deal where they're going to get some compensation for being included in that, but if they have affiliate links in their content, it's probably not going to be clickable in that summary. So they're really losing out there. So yeah, that's something that publishers are really thinking about. I mean, whether that's a technical solution or just making the content so good that the reader just is so compelled to go to it, which is, yeah, another issue, but it's definitely really, really front of mind.
I was just going to say, the other thing to bear in mind is if you think of how AI has changed over the last few years, you think of ChatGPT. When it first came out, if you said to ChatGPT, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? It said, I'm sorry, I can't tell you information other than from the past 2 years. So what we're likely to see is an evolution of how AI presents information within search, because ultimately what Google wants to do is make that information relevant to the end user. And let's be honest, they're also a business, so it needs to be commercial to a certain extent. So there will have to be some form of evolution with regards to how AI then references both the landing websites and also the affiliate side of it.
Yeah, I think from an editorial point of view, that's obviously a major problem. That box at the top is killing traffic on even the best performing sites. So, you know, from a publisher's point of view, we're trying to solve the same problem as Jess, you know, making sure the content's good enough and that people click through. I just had a follow-up question myself on that, Jess. Are you guys thinking outside the box now, perhaps, you know, affiliatizing links in those summary boxes, doing deals with companies like OpenAI to affiliatize within the AI world?
We're definitely working with a much broader base of publishers that now extends beyond editorial. There are some, whether it's actually that box or whether it's like an AI tool that helps you find fashion that you've seen on the street. Yeah, I think the kind of market has expanded a lot more, and those AI services are they're gonna be using affiliation for sure.
Any other questions?
I have a question. So now using the AI, a lot of people, a lot of brands actually, they want their products and their links like not exposed to be shown as a result. Do you think is it possible in the future to be integrated by the affiliates? Like, let's say I want to index my own affiliate link towards a brand. Do you understand what I mean?
It was probably too technical for me, but I'm hoping Jess understands.
As in just like have affiliate brand links in AI responses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would definitely foresee that coming into play. It's kind of a case of who gets that attribution, like who actually takes that revenue home, because I don't think that people are going to want it to be necessarily like the ChatGPTs, but yeah, it's definitely something that people are thinking about.
Yeah, because I think that's going to be a little bit of a game changer, because it's not going to be only Google that's going to show you the results. It's going to be also ChatGPT, which is going to be in your revenue. So, yeah.
Well, that's something we're definitely seeing more and more as publishers, in that people are landing on pages on websites, not just from traditional SEO methods anymore. I mean, it's an open secret that AI have done deals, especially in this country, with some of the major publications. They're more likely to be featured when people are searching. So that's what brought me to the earlier question that I asked Tabby about how important it is to make sure you're getting covered by those brands and getting your brands covered, in those publications by what is basically at the moment a handful of brands who have paid to be part of that. So, yeah, I don't know, Tabby, if you want to touch on that a touch more.
I don't think I've got a huge amount to add, other than just kind of backing up what we said earlier, that you need to be in a good relationship with those titles to ensure that that's where you're featuring, and also that's where your audience are going to be going. So you're tapping into the right people there.
Yeah, and I don't think it's any different to how you've worked before, right? Because by chance, well, not by chance, the biggest publications are the ones doing the deal, so they're the ones your brands are always going to want coverage in anyway. Any other questions?
Yeah, do you find when publishers have favoured affiliate schemes, and how do you get them to open up to others? For instance, for lower cost tech products, a lot of publishers will default to Amazon because of flagship products. So how do you kind of have those conversations to open up?
Oh, I can speak to that from an editorial perspective, yeah. Amazon, yeah, easy peasy, and that's why they dominated the market, especially for the first few years. They then cut the rates in half for everyone after a few years when it got a bit too big. So that kind of killed the market, and what that made people do was, don't put all your eggs in one basket and branch out. And then you had, all the major publishing houses in this country have built their own tool where you can click through to Amazon, to John Lewis, to Asda, to Argos, all the major things, and you can do that using tools where you don't have to manually create these links. It's just done. And then services like Skimlinks just make it 10 times easier, because Jess, do you want to explain just how Skimlinks works and how easy it makes everyone to affiliatize everything?
Sure. So Skimlinks is an aggregator of the network. So there are about 50 major affiliate networks. So if you're a publisher and you want to do affiliation, you would, in theory, have to go and join each network and join each merchant on each network or advertiser on each network. So Skimlinks kind of aggregates all the advertisers and all of the networks into one place. So there are about 50,000 advertisers on our network that are available to publishers like the moment they sign up with us. So then on a technical basis, the publisher, all they have to do is put one line of code on their site, and it means that every time there's an outbound link to a retailer, whether that's John Lewis, ASOS, Net-a-Porter, that link will be automatically affiliated. And really, the publishers don't need to worry too much about whether that advertiser is on our network, because mostly they are. So also get on the network if you're not already.
Yeah, from someone who's used Skimlinks, that's the easiest, most obvious way of doing it. Once you put that line of code on, you can just do nothing. You don't have to do anything. There is also an excellent back end where you can select your preferred retailers, and you can do. But if you just let the system just work itself, it kind of works to its best performance anyway, right? Any other questions? Yep.
This is unrelated, but to the existing discussion, but I'm curious given the general topic. How do we avoid another situation like honey? For those who don't know, honey was they promised to do discount, find the best discount coupons for anybody, but then they would end up hijacking a lot of affiliate links, and so a lot of the people who promoted honey ended up actually getting really done over by the brand, because when you went through that affiliate sort of process, honey overtook it and took all the affiliate money, frankly. So has that brought awareness, and is it changing the way that you guys are sort of doing that system, the sort of logic behind that system, I suppose?
Yeah, it's brought a lot of awareness. I think a lot of it, if you know affiliate, it's not such a surprise that was happening maybe. But yeah, there's always been a huge conversation around attribution. So whether it's last click attribution. So for example, you could read an article on Vogue that sent you through to Net-a-Porter, and then if that reader then goes and uses another tool and clicks on that, then they might get rewarded for the sale instead. So yeah, there are things that can happen around kind of like weighting specific publishers. So all publishers in our network, for example, are labeled as a type, so you can weight certain ones. I don't think there's a perfect solution yet, but it's definitely something that has really caused waves in the affiliate industry that all the major networks and Skimlinks are talking about, and it sparked a lot of conversations between us and all of the major networks around how we can combat that from happening in the future.
Yeah, from an editorial point of view, I think the affiliate market, in terms of networks and partners you can work with now, is very matured, and you can kind of, who the big players are, and if you stick to them and play it safe, that's fine. I'd receive numerous emails, all the time, cold calling, why don't you try this for affiliate network out, why don't you try that? We used to call it double affiliate, they're basically just putting their affiliate network on your thing. So I think you've got to be wary of that, but in the same way that you're wary of, any sort of cold sales approach that you get. Word of mouth is probably the best, thing in the industry to go by. Skimlinks, grew exponentially, very, very quickly. And, I can remember someone recommended it to us, and then it was recommended to us like 10 more times within a month. So I think if you just play it safe, you should be okay, No? Okay, cool. So that was our panel. I would like to say thank you to all of my guests who obviously brought a lot more expertise on the subject than I did. Jess, Steve and Tabby. I'm sure we'll all be around afterwards if anyone wants to grab us, particularly the experts here if you really want to learn more about affiliate marketing. But thanks for your time, everyone. Thanks for sitting up here in the slightly hot room, and enjoy the rest of the showcase.